So a lot of you guys have been messaging asking for updates on the Highboy Cummins build. Honestly, the last 4 to 5 months I've kind of just been taking a break from it. You kind of get burned out on some of these long builds. I work 60 plus hours a week at my day job typically, so all this is just kind of hobby weekend stuff. I'm not a professional at this by any stretch. So it's kind of nice between work hours at the day job and doing all the hours at the garage. Just step away and take a break every now and again. It's nice to get a financial break too. These builds are not cheap. Parts add up really fast. I did get to tinker with a couple other projects. Messing with a Harley Dyna. I got to do a cool fabrication project for my buddy's house. Some photography work. So it's kind of nice to step away, refresh, reset, and get your mind right, get back on the build. I got the bed set back on the truck, mainly to mock up my exhaust exit. I wanted to make sure I could tuck the exhaust up tight and just get a general idea where that was going to lay. It's kind of nice to see the bed back on and look like a truck again, even though it's going to come back off pretty shortly. So if you watched the first video, I'm using a 25-gallon Suburban tank. It's a plastic fuel tank and it's mounted in between the rails. I had to do some modifications to the frame to make that work. Highboys all came with in-cab gas tanks with the filler neck here. 1977 and a half, they went to the lowboy frame with wider frame rails and ran a rear-mounted tank. But all the Highboys had narrow 34.5-inch frame rails with an in-cab tank. Since the Highboys were the only Fords of this generation that ran in-cab gas tanks, all the bed sides are still stamped for the side fuel door. I think all the Highboys had delete plates similar to this. 3 screws, you can pop that off. Get a filler neck from a 73 to 76 F100. It'll bolt right into this bedside, same bolt pattern, 3 screws. And the best part about this filler neck is with that Suburban tank, you can kind of see the filler neck here. You can see how the filler neck points just above the rear leaf hanger, and it lines up almost perfectly with the fuel inlet on that Suburban tank. It's pretty much a straight shot over. Pretty pleased with this because I never saw anybody run this setup and it lined up almost completely perfect. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is a 97 12 valve out of a Dodge. It was a manual truck, so it's a 215 pump. I believe the code's a 913 on the pump. I'm debating about sending the pump off to get benched at either Power Driven or one of the other shops that people use. I think Power Driven's the main one everybody uses. But up in the air on that. My initial intention with this was to pull the head, have the head decked and O-ringed, and just keep the bottom end pretty much as is. The motor was claimed to have 180,000 on it, and it actually ran really good when I went to check it out. Here's a clip of that real quick. If it did have 180,000 on it, they were pretty hard miles. The walls look a little washed. I've seen motors with 300,000 and 400,000 miles that have really good crosshatch still. The crosshatch is starting to pretty much disappear completely on this. So we're going to pull the bottom end apart, do the block as well. I feel like it would be silly not to at this point. Still has the original pistons in it, so probably just a work truck. But it did run great. We're just not going to gamble with blow-by or any other issues at this point in the build. Got the head pulled off. Everything looks like it was in pretty good shape. Pretty dirty, but no cracks or anything underneath on the valve seals or any of that. We're going to get the head decked, O-ringed, and cleaned up at the machine shop. Get it back and hopefully start getting this motor back together maybe this fall, most likely. This is the ATS 3-piece exhaust manifold I'm going to go with. The stock units are single piece. They're pretty prone to cracking. As you can see, there's little joints right here that allow for expansion and contraction on both sides. These flow a lot better as well. I'm kind of debating between an ATS 3000 turbo and possibly a Power Driven. I think it's a 362 SXE. The goal for this is a quick spooling truck that'll make really good low-end torque. Not concerned about horsepower numbers. I would like to put 1,000 foot-pounds of torque down at the tire, but I want it to be drivable, not laggy. I want to be able to work the truck and be really streetable. I'm going to run these exhaust manifold studs as well instead of the stock bolts. This manifold is also pre-tapped for an EGT gauge, which is nice. This is an aftermarket pair of 60-pound valve springs. Intake and exhaust, pretty common mod on 12 valves. Also have a set of 4,000 RPM governor springs for the injection pump. Again, pretty common mod. And to go with the 60-pound valve springs, we have chromoly retainers and keepers. This just prevents the added spring pressure from pulling the keeper through on the top end of the valve spring. This is a set of top hat style valve seals directly from Cummins. These just seat nicely up under the valve spring. So there's a fuel heater that comes from the factory on these 12 valve Cummins. On the side of the block there's an old school mechanical fuel pump. Sandwiched between the pump and the block is the fuel heater bracket. You ditch the fuel heater bracket, run this spacer. They supply the gaskets for both sides and the studs to mount it, and new fuel lines. Pretty much eliminate the fuel heater and eliminate the potential for fuel and air leaks in your fuel system. Cheap upgrade, I think it's like 25 bucks, definitely worth it. ARP head studs, this is a pretty common upgrade on all diesels. The Cummins are pretty reliable from the factory, particularly the 12 valves. A couple small upgrades though and you can really hold some big power and boost. Probably only making 40 to 50 pounds of boost on this, which isn't that much for diesels, honestly. But it's peace of mind, reliability. Don't want to do this twice. So I only bought a handful of parts from diesel conversion specialists for this. The engine mounts being one. This is a tone ring that bolts on your harmonic balancer. This bracket here mounts a sensor which reads these little notches on the end of the tone ring. This supplies a signal for a tachometer. Ordered a bunch of stainless to build an exhaust on this truck. I'm running a 4-inch kicked up to a 5-inch. Vibrant was one of the only people I could find that supplied 4 and 5-inch and actually had it in stock. We got a 5-inch U-bend, 4-inch U-bend, a 4 to 5-inch adapter, stack of V-band clamps, all stainless hangers, turbo flange, new rubber isolators, 5-inch 90. We got 4 and 5-inch straight pieces up there. So this is going to be a 4-inch downpipe right off the turbo, and then under the cab kick up to 5-inch and straight pipe all the way out the back of the truck. Should sound pretty rowdy. Here's a look at the V-bands. These are all stainless again. A couple nice things with these. One is the quick disconnect. This makes it really easy to assemble and disassemble the exhaust. So just flick this off. Whole clamp comes undone and you can remove each piece individually. So each individual flange is stepped on the inside to accept the exhaust tubing, which makes it a breeze to get a good fit up. And the mating surface on the other side, you can kind of see there. One side has a male lip and the other has a female lip. So these are self-aligning, which makes it super simple to assemble and disassemble.